Are we being lied to? That is a question that we always tend to ask ourselves when it comes to our health. And in reality, I'm starting to think that the answer is leaning towards yes. Now, for context, I've worked in the medical industry now for coming up to 10 years as a pharmacist. But what's happened over the past few days and the things that I'm looking into on a daily basis has made me question whether I actually trust the industry that I'm actually working in. So let's do this leg workout and then I can actually go through what it is that I'm actually thinking about. Now, before I jump straight into why I've developed these thoughts and feelings over the past 48 hours, I've always questioned the medical industry. I've always went into, is this the best for my health, public health? And that's something I've always questioned, and that is why I've diverged away from, I'd say, generic practice where you just follow guidelines blindly because that's what we've done for years and that's what's got people back onto their feet. And over recent months, well, I'd say over the last 18 months, I've changed my practice more into looking into the science myself and trying to apply that to get the best out of it from a personal perspective and from other people in terms of patients and family. But what's happened over the past couple of days is the release of a certain set of files, and I'm not going to give any more attention towards these files because they're obviously horrific in what they contain and I don't think they need any more publicity. But there was a few people in there, well definitely one, who I looked up to from a medical point of view, and that is what made me do this video, because I read it earlier on this morning and I thought I have to do a video whilst I feel not emotional but as close to emotional as I can feel with regards to this subject. Now, given what I've just said about how I practice medicine and healthcare in general, the reason I followed this person for, I'd say, the last 2 years is because this idea that I felt that they were pushing medicine in the right direction in terms of preventative health. They were doing more about longevity. They were looking beneath the cracks, so to speak, when it comes to guidelines. And that's why I followed them. I was really interested in them and I felt as though they were doing something that hasn't really happened within the medical sector for such a long time. And then I thought he was as far removed from corruption as possible. And that's what I like to feel like I am, is I'm transparent with everything, or I disclose as much as I possibly can, or basically everything. I disclose everything about what I believe in, what I do on a daily basis. And my overall goal is to genuinely improve people's health. Mine and family members first, obviously closely followed by anyone that I treat. And the best way to do that is to remove yourself from other motivations and to remove yourself from any corruption. And yeah, like I said, I thought this person was also aligned with what I believed in. But little did I know that they weren't. But on a side note, one thing that I've experienced in terms of working within healthcare is that unlike other sectors within the world, it doesn't have the luxury of having more than one chance. I feel as though it's one strike and you're out with healthcare, whereas every other sector I can think of, whether it be building sectors, financial sectors, a lot of people give them more chances. And this is not an excuse, but it's just the way it comes across. And that's why it's quite hard to advance within healthcare, is that you are scared to navigate outside of what is known to try and improve it, whereas, like I said, other sectors do have that freedom to do so. So when it comes to calling out other people within my industry, I feel like it's a double-headed sword, because I want people to gain credibility and trust within healthcare, because there are people like me and there are other people within this system who genuinely do want to improve healthcare, public health and advance things so that people are having a greater quality of life. That is my overall aim, and of a few people that I know of as well. In order to build trust, you also need to call out what is not correct. And in this case, when I will get onto later in this video, whatever this person was doing was not correct. So you have to call it out, but at the same time, by exposing what they're doing as being unfaithful, unloyal, all the words that you want to put towards it, you are then potentially putting your own self at scrutiny, and it's such a hard balance to meet. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So going back to the main reason as to why I made this video tonight is, why does this person showing up within these files change my perception on their practice within medicine? And it simply comes down to the files that were released. This person was being unloyal to partners. They were able to lie within documents, going back to loved ones or at times of desperation, really, when you would expect someone to really come together for a family member. And that just sort of straight away put my thoughts into the fact that if they're able to lie about this, what other things are they able to hide and bury under the carpet, whether that be contracts with pharmaceutical companies, whether that be contracts with other people to do certain procedures or go down certain management protocols which benefits other people as opposed to benefiting the patient's actual health. And the second reason was that they are in touch with the elite. And I know there's a lot of people, as soon as you bring up the elites or you go down this pathway that there's a higher ruling, you are then automatically a conspiracy theorist. But let's be honest, these powers above do control a lot of the things that happen below. So if you are in contact with them and something favors this group or these select beings, then it's easy to pass it through someone who's very credible. So then, even though a lot of the science that they have conducted and a lot of the things that I actually do agree with, probably 99% of the things that this person has put out, it then makes me question their credibility and their motivation. So obviously I've had to unfollow this person, and it made me question, how do I increase the trust and security of those who watch my videos and who come through me as a patient to make sure that I've got their best interests at mind. So I'll use this section of the video to build a bit of trust, be transparent and be as honest as I possibly can be. So like I said, I've worked within the medical industry now for coming up to 10 years. I am not paid by anyone in terms of pharmaceutical companies in the sense that to promote their products for treatment. My form of treatment first is to go for diet and exercise. I feel as though that should be everyone's baseline. That's why I'm here today. I've started doing workouts on my actual videos to show that I actually do enjoy doing this and that I do practice what I preach. And my goal is to remove the need for medication for everyone that I meet, I treat. And I know people within the pharmaceutical industries, the medical boards who may be getting financially supported, do not want that to happen. I agree with that, and I don't have any qualms in saying that, because people, I think, get this perception that or people within the medical industry do not want to admit that. I literally, if everyone who come into my clinic had no medication, it would be so easy for me from a mental point of view, but also a legal point of view, because the more medication a patient has, then the more I am potentially liable if I miss drug monitoring, if I prescribe a medication which interacts and causes harm to a patient. So like I said, I want everyone to be off medication, and that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to try and explore all these ideas and avenues first before you need medication. And we have to not be naive here, is that medication has enabled us, and the medical world and field has enabled us to live for a lot longer than previous generations, and we just can't deny that fact. The only thing that we can deny or we can challenge is the point at which we intervene. So preventative health, which is my biggest passion, we need to start as early as we can. We need to be doing stuff like this now. It is late, it is Monday evening. I'm filming this at about 10 o'clock, doing a leg workout in the winter, which is probably one of the most character building things you can possibly do. But I do it because I'd rather spend the time here. I've built it now, so I really do enjoy training, but you put the time in here, you will spend less time within a hospital setting. Now, this doesn't guarantee that I'm not going to end up in a hospital, but at least I can live with that level of risk. So I think that's one way that I can build trust with people, is that I'm actually doing the things that I'm advising, and I'm trying to guide people as opposed to tell them. It's not a dictation, it's a directive guiding. I think that's the best way I can put it. So after all this talk of whether we are being lied to, I suppose the answer is, are we? And by some people we are, and I think I say this and it sounds quite rich actually, is do not trust people that you actually listen to on the internet from face value. You need to go away and do your own research. By all means, me doing this video today, if you've clicked on it and you're watching it, obviously take what I say and then go and do your own research and build your own opinion. Do not take what people are saying as gospel, because like we have found out, and you know, sadly for me, I do actually feel betrayed after what I've found out today, is that you can follow someone for 18 months, 2 years, be really invested in what they're doing, and everything seems to be ticking the boxes. And then sadly, a couple of things are unearthed and basically you just shatter everything that you've built up in terms of your following with them. So use what I say today, use what other people say, and take it with a pinch of salt. Go and do your own research. The answer as to are the majority of people within healthcare lying, the people who you see on a daily basis, so your average nurse, pharmacist, doctor, dentist, all these people are following pre-made guidelines, and you will find a lot of these people do follow them to the T, because like I've said about medical legal sorts of things, is that if you are not following certain guidelines set by the hospital trust, the local prescribing committee, or the NHS NICE, for example, within the UK, then if anything were to go wrong, even if you are practicing safe and you are not malpracticing, then you can be potentially pulled into a court of law, which is obviously a scary prospect, even when you're doing your job. And when you actually put into context the amount of money that we get paid, nurses as well, even GPs, a lot of people might say, oh, they get paid a lot of money, but actually the amount of liability that they hold and responsibility, it's not that much. So people will be following these things to the T. So if you do want to point the finger at anyone where you believe there may be ulterior motives, it is the people who are formulating the guidelines. Again, I don't believe a lot of the people are, and I don't have any evidence of that, so that's why I'm not saying that, but they would be the people, if anything, because everyone underneath that are following that to the T. There are people like me out there, my wife, and other people that I know within a close clinical circle, where we're trying to push the boundaries of medicine. We are trying to improve patient care to a level where it should be in the modern era. Everything else accelerates. You've got the tech world, which is using AI. You've got the finance world, which is even using AI. I'm not saying to use AI. I don't believe fully within the prospect of AI, but we should be advancing in other areas. We shouldn't be using studies and practices that have been outdated for 20, 30 years. We should be looking further ahead. The human body's changing. Take women, for example. More and more women at this moment in time are doing extreme sports. They are lifting heavier weights. They are doing all these things that was not the norm even 15 years ago. So the human biology, especially within women, for example. And if you look at men are lifting less. Men are not doing as many manly things that they used to do even 15 years ago. So testosterone's reducing. So we need to treat the population as that, and we can't just rely on all these old things. So to round this video up, I would advise anyone who is not medically trained and you are getting healthcare advice, whatever it is, I mean any advice in general anyway, is to do your own research. But with regards to healthcare, try and treat healthcare as the person who you're getting the care from is just guiding you along your treatment pathway. So obviously go in there with an idea and then explore them ideas. If you're not happy with it, question it. Everyone's got a right to question. It is their own body. I don't take offense if anyone asks me any questions, because it shows that they're interacting with their healthcare, and I always think it's a positive thing. It just really opened my eyes today that the people who I thought I could rely on and trust, even though I don't know them personally, the circle's closing in more and more, and there are fewer and fewer good people, probably across all sectors, but especially within healthcare, where we need to try and build up more credibility, more trust, especially what happened with COVID and a few other things where people do have more and more doubts. The majority of people within the space are good. There are a few people, I would class myself within this section, where we are trying to push the boundaries more and more. So hopefully you do trust me. Hopefully that you will give me and other people who are of a similar mindset a bit more time and trust the process, because I feel as though people like us will improve people's lives for the better. There's no need to do a disclaimer on this one because there wasn't any medical advice given. It's always for informational purposes. If you've got any suggestions about what videos I can do, then by all means put them below. Reach out to me on any of the platforms that I do use, so Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube being the one that I like the most. The next video will go back to more of a clinical perspective as opposed to like an emotional opinion. And like I said, I'm trying to reach out to a few people where I can have a workout and see what it is that they do within their specialty, whether it be a medical specialty or whether it be a different form of health and fitness, where we can try and gain practical insights for you to then use to see if it can better your health. If you've got this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.